My name is Michael Baker. I've got a show opening at the Winchester Gallery called Flick of the Wrist. Flick of the Wrist is a collection of video game concepts that I had come up with over the last couple of years. They originally were intended to be sort of utilities for actually creating video games, but some people think they're pretty interesting artwork on their own, so they're showing here in the gallery. A lot of people ask about the sort of games as art question. And to me, gaming is just another piece of visual culture, and therefore it's equally valid as artwork in the same way anything else is. So I don't really make any distinction. One thing that's interesting, I spent about 7 years going to the Game Developers Conference out in San Francisco, where that's the big industry event. And there's always lots and lots of discussion about our games art, are games good for you, are they bad for you, that sort of thing, are there social responsibilities involved with gaming? And to me, these questions don't really matter because I think it should be open to all possibilities. Pro Yolk is basically about frying eggs, and that's really all there is to the game. The intention would be that the gameplay would focus on the sort of very subtle control that's required to really expertly fry an egg. It's funny, frying eggs is something that obviously children learn how to do when they're young, and it's something that's very common for dads to do, that kind of thing. So it seemed like an interesting idea to me to really kind of step back from the idea of games as these very large, elaborate, highly detailed sort of military simulations or that sort of thing, which are so common right now. And choose something else. What's another theme? What else can we make interactive? What can we sort of encapsulate in a gaming experience that would still be an interesting experience to have? Yeah, again, gaming, there are lots of discussions about gaming. Are games art? Are they more than just a sort of distraction, that kind of thing. And in my opinion, they certainly qualify as more than just distractions. Interactivity in general is incredibly efficient at conveying information, providing a unique experience that we're able to really grab onto and manipulate and sort of engage in. It's no mistake that the gaming industry is so huge now. Every year they talk more and more about how it's so much larger than the film industry, movie industry. SmartStorm is, I'd say, actually one of my earlier concepts. I had been playing some multiplayer games with some friends a lot, just some standard kind of shooter games. And I started to think about other ways to capture these sort of intensity and excitement, and also the control you have in a shooter match when you're playing with a group of people. So I started to think about other themes that might match with that kind of environment. And I've always been kind of fascinated by weather, and I thought, well, why couldn't we actually create weather systems? You could even have a team-based situation where you could generate weather systems and you could either battle directly with each other, you could, say, compete for resources, there could be mechanisms in the game to, or other objectives where you might need to put out a forest fire or, deal with, a drought or something. And those could be various objectives within the game environment. So it really kind of came out of the sort of shooter, the standard kind of shooter game concept. It's just sort of morphed into a different sort of a theme. So Implosionist, I don't remember any direct sort of conceptual link between being here in Las Vegas and obviously the frequent implosions and the concept, but I can't say that it didn't happen that way. In fact, I remember a few years ago when they imploded the Castaways. I lived close enough to that, and I didn't know it was happening. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I heard, the ground shook and everything. The windows shook, and I heard the thing come down. So it can be pretty exciting, obviously. So that concept is, again, it's trying to sort of bring the sort of destruction aspect that's common to many games into, rather than a sort of aggressively destructive concept, it's really intended to be sort of the other way around, where obviously buildings are imploded. Here in Las Vegas, of course, they're clearing space for the next great thing, but in lots of places, cities especially, they had dilapidated buildings, they might be a hazard, okay, so it's really a safety sort of issue. So that's sort of the twist there, is to kind of approach the destruction from more of a positive kind of angle. And also with that concept, the idea would be to sort of create or invent some kind of futuristic tools that would allow you to analyze the structure of a building and sort of correctly place your explosives to achieve the right sort of destruction. I mean, it's not just blowing things up, it's really for a goal and a purpose. So that could lead obviously into many different sorts of goals. Maybe you have to drop one half of the building here, the other one there, sort of thing. So that's really where that concept sits right now. Creating a game is a pretty involved experience. The nuances of fine-tuning gameplay and actually creating an experience that is fun and enjoyable, or even engaging, let's just say engaging, it's difficult. It's very difficult. So, one thing that, or one reason that I've been doing the concepts is to try to capture that idea before it fades. I can record this stuff on paper and write things down and take notes. Okay, that's fine. What about some visuals? Maybe I can think about it for a couple hours and try to sort of develop the concept and consider what it would be if it were actually interactive. So I see myself continuing with these, certainly continuing to develop actual interactive content, as well as other digital forms, films and other experiences that are. So it's all really sort of revolves around the screen-based kind of experience that we're so involved in as a culture right now. Okay, I hope you can make it down to the show. It opens at the Winchester Gallery on December 8th and closes on February 5th.